What is up, everybody? Welcome back. NBA Crunch Time. Literally, it's the only thing that I get more excited about than like Christmas is NBA returning. It's just absolutely glorious. I'm so happy. And joined, as always, by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. One, Mr. Andy Means. What up, Means? How are you, man?
Opening night, Roth. It's good to be back. Got just amazing players on the slate tonight. Durant, Harden, LeBron, AD, Russ. Some mediocre Bucks players, and then it's going to be a good night.
Yeah, wait, did you leave out Giannis, or were you calling him a mediocre?
Yeah. Oh, that's what I meant. Yeah, of course.
Speaking of, we have Tuttle as well, guys. Congratulations, Tuttle. Congratulations. You won. Your boy, Giannis. Apparently, he doesn't suck, as it turns out. So, should we give Tuttle? Should we give Roth the floor to just let him say anything he wants?
You want to say a few words?
Tie a bow. Maybe apologize. Maybe double down, triple down. Let's give Roth the floor.
I think you guys are right.
It doesn't matter what you think, Roth. Giannis and the Bucks are champions.
If you give 30 seconds here to say, I was right, but I was wrong. I was right about a lot, but
there he is.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that he can't shoot or that he can't do these things. He tries so hard. He's so great defensively. He's so great in transition. He's just incredible. And so now for the remainder of the season, I'm changing my backdrop to this.
Oh,
I don't
there
know.
We go.
There you go.
So
I will rock the Giannis backdrop. He's my new favorite player. He's just impossible to hate. So
now we can be friends again, Roth.
Yeah, he's so good. He's just so likable, and he's so good. Even though he's not skilled, he's so good.
I'm going back and forth between wanting to talk about how awesome Giannis is, but I was just hit with Nicholas Claxton in the starting lineup bomb, which was not expected.
Oh,
no wonder Nash didn't want to reveal the starting lineup.
Okay.
How we have news on opening night? They've had it all summer. This is ridiculous.
It's so good. This is what I miss about NBA, man. I just love it.
I'm done. I'm leaving. We're supposed to have a relaxing night. This is ridiculous.
Nope. We're going to figure out what we're going to do about the Clax bomb here coming up in a little bit. We're going to talk about the slate. Honestly, one thing that you guys may have to remember, I feel like we're all a little bit rusty. I had to remember that there's an NBA Crunch Time chat. So if you're in the MLB Crunch Time chat, just as a holdover, don't forget to switch over to the NBA Discord chat.
Yeah, they push it all the way down at the bottom. That's got to get bumped back up.
It's way at the bottom, and there haven't been any comments about basketball since May, which is just so long.
So sad.
And so sad. But make sure that you are in the proper Crunch Time channel. Meansy, you said this slate there's so many fun spend ups. There's apparently some good cheap plays now that Clackety Clack is starting. I
thought he was. I mean, he's not as cheap as I thought he'd be. I'm interested on DK, but to go to the first thing you're saying is for 2 games. I mean, they basically have all of the best players playing, and so you're picking between the best players in the league and then leaving out the other best players in the league. So you're kind of not feeling great, and obviously salary matters, so you can only fit a few of those guys in. But it's just besides the Lakers 3, who it's different now that Russ is there. I feel great about all of the other ones, and that does not to say the Laker guys couldn't still smash tonight just because they're so good. So there's so many different angles for 2 games.
All right, so Tuttle, I do want to ask you there. Do you have any feel for what these Lakers are going to do? Can you play Russ? Can you play LeBron or AD? Or are there just too much of them, too much goodness for any one of them to crush?
Yeah, it's a lot of goodness. So my initial take was kind of these guys are irrelevant for the slate. Who cares about them? Blah, 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 even though it's only a 2-game slate. But when you start building on DraftKings, Russ falls into some builds at just 8,600. AD, even at 8,800, it's kind of right there too. LeBron's a little bit more expensive, more of the odd man out for me on DraftKings specifically. But those guys do fit some builds. So I think you have to consider them even in cash games, which is a little crazy to say. But usage definitely a concern. We saw it preseason. LeBron and Russ, when they were on the same court, on the court together, LeBron dominated usage. Obviously, extremely small sample that we're working with. But yeah, I mean, obvious concerns there in terms of usage for all three of those guys. It's likely one of them is going to do well on any given night, but it's going to be extremely hard to predict which one on that specific night.
Okay, so I want to get going here, position by position, do what we do. But the Claxton news, who is Claxton in for, or who did we have assumed starting?
We assumed Brown. Yeah, so they're going a little bigger. Yeah.
Okay, and so talk to me about Claxton. Interest here means you can go first.
Yeah, I mean, I have interest on DK's 4K. I feel like he's going to have a short leash. They want him to be organizationally, and obviously Nash too, because he's starting him. They want him to be really good because he's young and he's super athletic. He's still pretty lean, but he plays really well with Harden in the pick and roll. He can be good defensively because of his tools. It's just he's going to be a little slower when it comes to schematic things and things like that. But he's also really good per minute. So it's just going to come. I think we're talking about putting him at I think the guy said maybe 17, high teens for minutes. So I like him more on DK where he was 4K. Brown was to talk about the rest of the roster. Brown was someone who was popping into a lot of stuff on DK because he's 3'6" or something, and now maybe that's a little he's gonna get a big bump down. And there's just a bunch of basically on DraftKings especially. There's the studs who are awesome. Basically Drew Holiday up. He's 7K, and there's all really good plays. Then there's a bunch of these 3K crappers, Bazemore, Millsap, was Bruce Brown, Grayson Allen, Jordan Nwora. They're all basically between 3K and 4K, and there's nothing in the middle of that. There's $3,000 of salary where there's just sparse plays. So obviously that's an appealing range for if you're trying to get difference in these top heavy tournaments, but that's kind of how the slate shakes out. So that's a long-winded way of saying, yeah, Claxton, if he can stay on the court, he's going to be a good play tonight. And the main guy it hurts is Brown, just because Brown's minutes are going to go down too.
Okay, Tuttle, anything you want to add there, or you want to go position by position?
The only thing that I would add is actually from a tournament perspective, kind of makes me a little bit upset. I wasn't heavy on Claxton or anything, but I was definitely light on Bruce Brown. I thought pretty easily he would be the guy that could potentially get squeezed. They have so many bodies, Brooklyn does, in the front court. We just don't know exactly how they're going to use them yet, and that's still the case. We don't know necessarily how many minutes Claxton's going to get, but he's such a strong permanent producer that even if you throw him in that 17-minute range that we're going to, you have to play somebody at center, and he looks pretty good there.
Sure, but it could be Giannis.
Yeah, if you pay up, you can. So the low end you're dealing with on DraftKings specifically, you're dealing with a Paul. We were looking at other Brooklyn big men basically to fill in there, and I think Claxton would be the go-to guy now. But yes, you can pay up and use Giannis at center for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was fun. I enjoyed that, but we're 21 minutes from lock. And we got to make some calls. So I think we go position by position. Means you want to start us off here?
Yeah. And I know it's first show of the season, so we might have some new people. It's a free show, so we might have some people who haven't watched before. So what I usually do is I will go through kind of from a cash game / optimal perspective and talk about the guys I like. And then Tuttle will kind of, after I'm done with the 5 positions, Tuttle will then come in and talk tournaments kind of off of what I said and his own, just straightforward thoughts as well. And FanDuel, which is what we usually start with, they went multi-positional eligibility this year. So Giannis has power forward or small forward, power forward. Harden has point guard, shooting guard. So forgive me if it's gonna take me a little bit to get used to talking through this, because before FanDuel, you're just literally I can only mention a handful of guys because you can only play them at those spots. And now and they have 9 roster spots, whereas DK has 8. So it does add a layer of complexity to the FanDuel build. So with that being said, let's jump in. I have Poole tagged on both sites. Obviously, he is 4-9 on FanDuel, point guard, shooting guard eligibility. So you have 4 different slots you can use them at, and I'm definitely using one. And then Harden is pretty much a guarantee for me at one of the other ones. And then Steph Curry is just point guard, I think. Basically on FanDuel, I think you can get 3 studs. You can get Harden, you can get Giannis and Curry. Those are my preferred 3, just slightly. You can put Durant in there, maybe take out Giannis because of positional stuff. I think you can get 3 of those guys. Those are my preferred 3 of the night. Because then I'm just going to include shooting guard with this, and it's probably best to talk about it this way, at least until I determine otherwise. Because then if you put those guys in, let me just put I'm just going to go with that since that's kind of what I talked about. Then in my favorite builds, you have 1 spot left for shooting guard. And then you're looking at maybe Joe Harris, but Joe Harris has a small forward, I think, as well. So you can put him there. And then obviously Giannis has power forward. You can move him up a spot. I like Grayson Allen, who is going to start for the Bucks, and they just gave him 2 years, 20 mil. So the fact that they gave him that after just having him in there for not too long makes me think they probably like this guy. He can shoot, and they're without a bunch of guys tonight, the Bucks that is. So he's cheap, and he should be looking at a fair amount of minutes. I think we got him at high 20s. We have him at 27. So I like him as a cheap play. Bazemore is way cheaper on DK. So it's probably Harris or Grayson for that spot. You can play them both too. So let's just bump it over to small forward, power forward, where I talked about the 2 expensive guys, KD and Giannis. So then you have Harris, who I mentioned, then Porter. So Porter, he's been hurt a lot the last 2 seasons, been on a couple teams, bouncing around, was definitely overweight like all of last year. You could just tell his body wasn't right. But he played really well in the preseason. They could use his shooting. If he's the healthiest version of himself, I think he's a pretty good pickup for them. Now, and earlier in the season is probably when you want him because he's not hurt yet. So he's 4-4. I'm not saying I would absolutely play him in cash games, but I definitely like him for tournaments, although I don't like the fact that we are showing 40%, but there's only so many guys you can play on a 2-game slate. So that's kind of it for me in the high low range, but then Middleton is right here too. So you can get 3 of those studs and Middleton on this very, very easily. And that's kind of my preferred route. I'm going to click off small forward and just go. Noir is another one. He's kind of difficult because we remember him. He's just power forward. He's one of the few. I don't know what. Basically, everyone on here has 2 positions, and then these 2 dudes have 1. I have no idea how they're picking who gets what. It's
because he's young and new, and they have no idea what position he really is.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll lock him in here. We'll figure it out later.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have that for Thursday slate or whatever.
Right.
So a lot of us who've been playing DFS know Noir from when Giannis, Drew, and Middleton are out. He balls, dude. He can score. But now because of injuries and because of him improving, they need him to actually play in the rotation. So I don't know how he's going to intertwine with all of these guys who are going to be the shooters and the distributors while he's out there probably more of maybe a spot up shooter. So I do like him, probably like him a little more on DK. Let me just look at power. I'm going to do power forward and center together just because a lot of these guys have similar eligibility. And I'm going to go ahead and hit a quick refresh here to see if our Brooklyn news hopped in here. So off the top of my head, before this picks up here, so Giannis, KD, those are guys I've already talked about. Then Looney at the center position. Let's see, we put Claxton up to 17, and he's still not popping as a great play. He's 4.6 on FanDuel. I like him more on DK where he's 4K. So basically that's what I'm looking at here in general is Giannis, one of Giannis and KD in my builds. I think probably Millsap and or Looney at center. I would include Claxton in there, and I'll include Noir in there just because he's power forward eligible. Draymond's probably a no-go at that price, especially with the way roster construction is working. So I don't know. I don't really think I overlooked anybody that I wanted to touch on. So that's kind of my thoughts on FanDuel. Claxton's not popping nearly as much as we insinuated at the start of all this news. Okay. And it makes sense. I mean, if he's going to get up into the mid-20s, he'll obviously be a better play. But again, I'll like him more on DK when we get there, and I'll pass it over to you and Tuttle now.
Okay, Tuttle, before we go, position by position, talk to me about overall strategy here on FanDuel.
Yeah, and honestly, that's a better way to approach like a 2-game slate like this. It's more strategy based than necessarily specific plays. And the big thing, like, it's early in the season, there's a lot of uncertainty. But the thing is, when you're using RG projections, when you're using any other sort of projection source, you can't as much as I love our projections are the best of what we think, but there are some situations that are just going to have uncertainty surrounding.
Sure. At the end of the day, it still just puts a number, and it's just, it has to put 25 fantasy points when the fact is it could be 5 or 40, especially early in the season. The variability is massive.
And even more so with like the minute perspective, right? Because that's really what we focus on trying to get correct is minutes, and rotations can be extremely hard to predict to start the season. And that's the case for tonight. Like with Meansy, how he said it, it's kind of a stars and scrubs approach on DraftKings, right? So we're going to be using some guys that aren't in starting lineups. So we're trying to predict these rotations the best we can. If you see a guy that's going to come in fairly heavily owned that we don't necessarily know how secure his role is, it's probably going to be a good spot to maybe go a little bit underweight in tournaments. Somebody like that would be like a Jordan Nwora, who we talked about. I like him a lot. I think the kid can ball. I think he's a good per minute producer if he's out there. But we have him projected at about 30% ownership, where we have Thanasis Adetokunbo at 1% ownership. So just a situation like that, I think we could see them both, play 15, 16, 17-minute range. And again, I fully expect Nwora to be the better permanent producer, but it's not worth that much of an ownership gap between those two. Another situation, perhaps more prevalent to a situation like tonight, would be the Lakers. So we talked about the big three and all the high-priced guys, but they have some value guys that could be interesting if we get news that Kendrick Nunn is going to be playing or potentially not limited at all. Nunn is currently questionable with an ankle injury. We are not going to know his status. And so that is going to drive ownership around him down quite a bit. It's going to drive ownership around Kent Bazemore, I think, quite a bit. But if Nunn's out, I like Bazemore a lot. Bazemore could shoot up, I think, into the low 30s minutes. And I think that's a potential anyways, just because they're going to need his defense on Steph tonight. So Bazemore is somebody who I think our current minutes projection could see some upward mobility on. But then also the same thing with Nunn. Again, if Nunn plays, we're probably not going to have a whole lot of word on if there's going to be any limitations or not. But Nunn is a guy that we're currently projecting for 22 minutes. If he plays and is actually healthy, this is a guy that could probably get into that 30-minute range. He's not going to pop as like some amazing play because of that still, because he's not necessarily a strong producer, fantasy producer. But this guy's going to be pretty low owned considering his injury designation. So it's just situations like that I think make sense to monitor and make sense to take stances on in tournaments.
Okay. Anything else you want to add here on FanDuel?
No, nothing FanDuel specific. I do think FanDuel specifically, you'll see those Lakers guys quite a bit lower owned than some of the other studs. DraftKings is where I was mentioning before that it's not going to be sneaky to say play Russell Westbrook in tournaments. It's just not. Like, there's enough unknown around there. He's cheap enough on DraftKings where I think like he's going to catch ownership. The guy that I'm actually finding.
Sorry.
What's that?
I can't play Russ. Like, I want to, but with that, with like everything going on there, with how shitty he's been in the preseason and how much they have to spread the ball around, like, I literally can't do it. But you think he'll get ownership?
Yeah, I think he will, just because of certain builds are kind of forcing in that 8K. Like, it's bad. There's nobody in between Russell Westbrook and Chris Middleton, like, at all. There's just not. So the pricing wise, it's on a 2-game slate, it's just a very weird gap. And then even once we get past the go below 7K range, you can't really play Draymond, expected to be limited. Wiggins, expected to be limited. Brook Lopez, probably overpriced. Joe Harris, probably overpriced. So it's really like definitely a huge stars and scrubs approach, but there are some builds where it's just forcing in like that 8K range. And because of that, I think Westbrook is going to catch ownership. And honestly, I think as a result, what we're going to see is I think Kevin Durant is the guy that's going to go overlooked on a slate like tonight. That's not necessarily how our current ownership is being projected. We still have Durant projected over Westbrook. But I think a lot of the high priced ownership specifically is going to on DraftKings is going to go into Curry, it's going to go into Harden, and it's going to go into Giannis. So I think KD is the guy that like is an absolute smash play that could end up being the lowest owned of these high priced guys, other than Anthony Davis and LeBron James.
Okay, was that who you were about to say? Because I cut you off and you're like the guy that and then I cut you off, and I always like
KD.
my pet peeve is okay. All right, just making sure that we got to that. Okay, excellent stuff. Means I want to talk some DK. I do want to mention something that Tuttle said there. Wiggins expected to be limited. Draymond expected to be limited. Is there someone who is the beneficiary over there, like a wing player on Golden State who I'm not thinking of that soaks up those minutes?
They're not going to be that limited. It's more of like they're just a little further behind everyone else in camp that they're still starting, like they're going to play. Mm-hmm. It's instead of playing like 35 minutes, maybe they play 31 minutes. So like,
okay.
It's one of those things where he just says, I'm going to probably keep an eye on him. He doesn't want to like run them out right away, probably because they can't be out there for that long and be effective just because their conditioning's not there yet. But it's not one of these, like he just came back from an ankle injury after a month. We're playing him 18 minutes. It's just more of we got an eye on it.
Okay. Yeah. Like if the game's tight, I'm not going to let the guy play 40 minutes type situation. Okay. Yeah. That works. All right. Let's go position by position on DK. It's just the most fun 2-game build I've ever done. So let's hear it.
Yeah. Kind of similar to what I said about FanDuel. It's a little more compact here in the sense that I think you're playing definitely 2 studs. You're playing Poole. I have Harden tagged along with Poole, obviously, but man, between KD, projections say play Harden over KD, but like, come on, like KD is like a top 5, 10, whatever player of all time ish, 15-ish. I don't know. I don't want to go there, but like the guy is really good at basketball and Kyrie's not playing. So, and think of the guys that the Bucks have to throw on him. PJ Tucker, who was their main KD defender last year, even though KD torched him, he's not there anymore. Like it could get out of hand here. And so basically that's a long-winded way of saying these guys are all so good and so close. But yeah, I'm going to play Harden. And then I'm probably going to play Giannis as the other one, strictly because of positional stuff, mainly center, which is kind of rough on DK. So that's kind of where I'm leaning for the other guy. But then it's basically a big old stars and scrubs build for cash games. And so do you want to play Curry instead of Giannis? Cool. Play Curry, play Durant instead of one of those guys, put like Millsap or Claxton at center. Like that's fine. I'm just saying kind of where I slightly prefer, but it's also very close. I'm going to go basically say a lot of this. Yeah, go ahead.
You essentially get 3 stars, right? You're getting
KD,
Giannis, Harden, and or Steph Curry.
Like no, it's more of a tour. It's more of a tour. Yeah. Yeah. For me, yes. To answer your question, yes. I like those 4. Yes.
Sure. And it's 3 of those 4.
You can definitely get 2. You can get 3 if you want. I like it. You're basically playing like a Steph. It's basically kind of like a 3v3 that includes like a Russ, like Tuttle was mentioning, a Russ, 2 of the Bucks guys like Drew or Middleton, and then X player who's left the salary remaining, or you're playing a Steph Curry and a Jordan Nwora and then X player who's so like, yeah, you can do it. I'm not going to sit here and say I have a preference either way. Okay. But I know what you're doing. So we don't have to get a QQ from you. So, cause we know what you're doing. And for those who don't know, Ross playing as many studs as possible. All right. So yeah, to just clarify that I like Harden and Giannis, then Curry and Durant are just kind of right there below them. But yeah, I think it's at least 2 of those 4. So the fill-ins for those guys, and I know we're getting short on time, so I'm going to be kind of quick here. Grayson Allen, it was Bruce Brown before, but probably not now. I don't even really think there's anyone else that stands out here, which is mainly why these 2 guys are so good anyways, because guard's actually thinner than you think once you get past Curry and, Drew Holiday and Russ. Like, sure, play those guys if you can, but you might not be able to. So I'm going to bump ahead to small forward. And Middleton I still think he has a really good price tag. We kind of didn't talk about it just because it's a lot going on, and it's kind of, we've known for a while, but like the Bucks are shorthanded. Like they don't have DiVincenzo still, who was out. They don't have Portis. I'm sure I'm missing someone else that's somewhat important, but they're going to have to play their guys. And a lot of they're really thin in the front court. Like there's a reason Tuttle mentioned Thanasis Antetokounmpo is because they have Brooke Lopez, Giannis, and like not really much else. Jordan Ward is going to play the 4. So, yeah, that's why we're talking about those guys. But then you have like Bazemore, who's a good cheapie at small forward. Grayson Allen, I mentioned already. And then that's kind of it. Like since we kind of lost to Bruce Brown because of his minutes. So those are the guys you're filling in with. Power forward, Nwora, Millsap as the cheap ones. Giannis, KD as the expensive ones. So that's kind of what you're looking at there. And then center, Giannis as the expensive one. Millsap and Claxton as the cheap ones. Looney too. I know we're gonna get. Are we gonna get ahead of this because we're gonna get QQs? Who do I prefer, Looney or Claxton? That's a tough one. I'm probably gonna play Claxton.
Okay.
Just because I mean they started him. The last preseason game they gave him a start. They didn't play Blake Griffin. They started their main guys. They started Millsap instead of Griffin. So kind of similar to what they're doing tonight, except Griffin in for Millsap. Claxton played like 25 minutes. 24 minutes, had like 11 and 7, a block and a steal. I think my guess is they've been trying to be coy with him or about him all preseason, and maybe they're ready to unleash the dude. I'm probably going to play him. So, yeah, I'm playing him in cash, I think.
Okay. All right. Tuttle, DK thoughts here in general?
And we got 4 minutes.
Yeah, not much to add. I alluded to DK a little bit earlier, too. So, yeah, not a whole lot to add there.
Okay, well, then let's take some QQs. All right, if it's a cash question, it means it's coming to you. And this is FanDuel Cash from Achilles. Allen Millsap or LMA and Looney?
I would LaMarcus Aldridge. I would do the first one.
I know who LMA is. Where is LMA is what I don't know.
He retired and then he got cleared by another doctor and he got re-signed with Brooklyn. Yeah, they got all tons of bigs, man. They got so many bigs.
Did not realize that.
That's what happens when you get trucked by Giannis and you need to sign people to stop him.
Yeah. Well, he ain't going to help stop him. Yeah. At all. Melrose, FanDuel, Bays Porter or Joe Harris?
I'll take it, I guess. I would play Harris.
All right. Achilles, DK Cash. Is Drew, Middleton, and Giannis too much in DK Cash?
No, it's like a 2-point spread. They have 118 total. They're short bodies. I don't think that's too much at all. I like
2-game slate.
Okay, that's
2 games. Yeah, 2 game slate. Yeah.
Okay. More DK Cash. Poto, Harden, KD, or Giannis straight up. Put you on the spot.
Straight up, Harden, KD. I'm going to go Giannis.
Okay. DK GPP here from DW. Bruce Brown or Nwora?
Nwora.
Okay.
And use the money elsewhere.
Okay. FanDuel 2v2. We've got about a minute and a half. I hate my lineup so much. It's incredible. FanDuel 2v2. Millsap, Joe Harris, or Porter LMA?
Was that me?
Yes.
Can you ask again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was Millsap, Joe Harris, or Porter LMA.
I like the first one.
Aside, FanDuel 2v2. DK Cash means BHB, Bays or Mellow?
Bays. Unless you hear for some reason. Oh, no, they already announced their starts. Never mind. Definitely Bays. Yeah.
DK Cash from Hey Beer Man, Grayson Looney or Nwora and Brolo?
The first one.
All right. Got less than a minute until lock here, gentlemen. I don't know why I love my lineup.
This show flew by.
It did. It zoomed by. We had like 2 minutes too many, like messing around off the top of the show, and it just.
Oh no, there was not too many minutes there messing around at the top of the show. Not enough, if you ask me.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this guy. Look at the best player in the NBA right now. This guy. Is Bielitsa okay as a last piece?
GPP, yeah.
GPP, yes. Cash, no.
Okay. I like how Tuttle knows to answer that question.
Yeah, Fusion League is not a cash play.
It turned out
his range of minutes is not very good.
Yeah.
It was a cash question for what it's worth. It was corrected.
Do not play him in cash.
Question, so
I can answer.
Yeah, I wouldn't play him in cash.
DK Cash, another one. It's orange, baby. Says 3v3 means Curry, Clax, Harris. Antetokounmpo, Millsap, Noir.
I like the second one. Who was the third person on the first side of that?
Harris.
I thought you said Paris. I was like, Paris Campbell?
Yeah.
Paris Saint-Germain.
We lost, by the way.
It's just occurring to everyone that no one's playing LeBron freaking James.
That's what I wrote that in the article today. I was like, man, like all three of those guys. Yeah, like all three of those guys. Whew.
Yeah.
But I still think he's pretty clearly the third guy I would play on the team, though.
Yeah.
Is it because of his price or what?
Yeah. I mean, even though it's not that much more expensive, but yeah, that's partially it.
I feel like LeBron historically doesn't crush anymore. Like he doesn't do those games where he like puts up massive numbers. He just kind of coasts.
I'm going to look. I kind of feel like you might be right. I'm going to look at his highest games last year because
I feel like
during the regular season, he just like, all right, I'm going to get us into the playoffs. We're going to win. But I'm not.
He had a stretch where he put a few 70 spots up in a row. But yeah, for the most part, I know it was not.
Yeah. And crazy. Certainly with those two other guys, I just feel like I don't
1,
see
2,
him.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games above 60. So, I mean.
Yeah, but Russ was doing that every night.
Yeah. And then two more that were 70, a 74 and a 75. So like 11 of 70 of however many games he played above 60. I got the feeling of that too. He felt way more like cashy than he felt tournament-y.
Yes. Yeah.
Now what do we do? Do we just like sit here and hang out, or I forget what happens? It's been a while.
I think usually we bullshit for like 3 or 4 minutes. And
now, can we talk about how when I watch one of the MLB shows, my man Cheese literally just gets up and goes, "Hey guys, I got to go to another computer. I'll be right back." I was like, "Oh, we're just allowed to get up now, huh? Okay, I'm gonna hold that one in my back pocket."
To be fair, when we started this show, it was just you and I, and we didn't have a third person. So you literally, if you had gotten up to go do something, you would have just left me babbling.
Which is what Tuttle and I were going to do that tonight, but we didn't think that was fair to all the people watching.
No, thank you. Good choice. Plus, I tried to butter you guys up. So, all right. Back in your good graces. Yeah.
I got ownership up for the big $15 one.
Well,
just because I was curious myself on this.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and pull it up too while you're doing it.
Bruce Brown still pulled in 30%.
Ooh, people aren't adjusting the news, baby.
Free money Tuesday. What is today?
Well, it's hard. I'm gonna get burned by it. I didn't play him, but like I don't think he's like a terrible play. But I also could see his minutes get like real squeezed, which would be interesting. Claxton got 14%, Millsap 15%.
Claxton's gonna ball tonight.
I couldn't find the build to get him.
Oh, I got it. I had the build earlier, and I just took Brown. I had the money left, so I just moved Brown out and put Claxton in. Oh
yeah, see that was perfect. I couldn't get it to work. I had a build I wanted that had all the guards in it, but I couldn't make it work.
Does anyone know if they've started the rings ceremony yet? Because it's going to be like another 20 minutes after that before this game even starts.
That's true.
Yeah, I think they did it. I had it on in the background.
Okay.
Giannis 57, Harden 55.
I just don't understand how you could not play both of those guys. I literally don't understand how you could.
Because there's Harden, there's Steph, there's LeBron, there's.
I love all of them, but I can't not play Giannis and Harden.
Who did you play, Roth, from the first game?
Also, I just want it noted, I spent more money on today than I ever have in DFS, like on opening season of NFL and all of that. I was just like, nope, all of it. I'm putting all of it in.
Now cue up the clip where Roth is saying how much he hates his lineup. Good start, Roth.
Let's see who I got here. I don't even know. DraftKings changed things and made it so hard for me. All right.
Did you like how I did the rock on you earlier? I don't know if you watched Professional.
It doesn't matter. I did enjoy that.
Making sure someone appreciated it.
All right.
Yeah, what's your lineup?
Poole, Noir, Giannis, Harden, Claxton, Durant, Connaughton, Allen.
You're heavily invested in this game. I like it.
Yeah. And then I got another one. Poole, Griffin. I don't know where that came from. Poole, Griffin, Allen, Harden, Claxton, Giannis, Nwora, Curry. Right. Did I still play all? Yeah, I still played Giannis and Harden. That's all I want to do. Yeah. Also, I'm realizing I read that completely out of order, which is probably confusing as hell. I was going, but you followed.
Hey, something I want on record, just so I have it on record here. I said it during the show. Our ownership projections almost nailed this one. And I do think he's the better play. But the gap between Nwora and Thanasis
Thanasis,
not good. Thanasis is 1.68% owned in the $15.
And that's what you had. Yeah, they had him at 1%, right? And
Nwora is at 29%.
Yeah. Does Thanasis play? Had I known that there was another Antetokounmpo that was going to get
he'll be playing tonight.
Yeah, it's just strictly because Portis is out. They need some front court minutes from like at the 4, and it's probably Nwora in the pecking order. But if he doesn't play that well, then I mean they're both Phil nailed it. They're both going to play, but the range of how much they play is probably up to how well they play.
Right.
Yeah.
And in which case the ownership shouldn't be 1% versus 35%.
Exactly. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Nwora, like the kid's a baller,
that.
so I'm not going to be surprised if he goes off by any stretch.
And Thanasis is good per minute too. That's the weird thing. Like,
yeah, he's good
rebounder. Those two guys last year when the main Bucks were out were the two guys you played.
Yeah.
And just because Thanasis' minutes are projected a little lower, his projection's a little lower, and his ownership's a little lower. But like Tuttle said, that's kind of why you play a guy who's 1% on a 2-game slate. Who's what? 3? What is he? 3 something?
3K.
3.
Yeah.
Regrets.
And he's 3.5 on FanDuel.
Regrets. Yeah.
Ross, like that's the guy that could have got me the 4th stud.
That was exactly how I could have had them all.
I did look into that a little bit.
That's how I started building this morning, or that's how I started building yesterday. Basically, was I put in as many as possible. Once I realized that mid tier was like nothing, I was like, I'm going to full on studs and duds this as much as possible.
Poole
but then I kept
like
landing in that stupid Westbrook range.
Yeah. But Poole was the only like mid. He was really cheap.
Yeah, he's irrelevant because he's like the best player on the slate.
Right. Got to play him. Yeah. Okay. Got to say, I enjoyed that. This was fun, guys. All right.
We got tip off, so the game actually started sooner than I expected.
Oh, wow.
Great. Okay.
Is this going to be a thing going forward?
Yeah, usually it's been like 10 minutes, right?
It's a guaranteed minimum 10 minutes. Yeah. And they started 7 minutes with a ring ceremony. Maybe they're actually trying to get better about that.
Wonderful.
That'd be nice.
Okay, guys, that was fantastic. And we've got a whole season of this. And quite frankly, I'm looking forward to it.
And a doozy tomorrow, Roth. We got a doozy.
Was it just like, 14 games or something like insane?
12 maybe. I stopped counting once I have to scroll on my phone. Then I just stopped counting.
That's a lot. Yeah, all right, we got a lot. I think maybe we'll do a crunch time tournament to get it going.
Let's do that tomorrow.
Yeah, I feel like we should make that happen tomorrow for sure. All right, Tuttle, you want to say anything, or you want to say thanks? That was so great. No. All right,
that was awesome. Yay! See you Friday.
All right. As always, excellent work for Memesy, for Tuttle, and for Eli working hard behind the scenes, guys. We appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.